It was quite surprising to see AO Tennis 2 pop up on the Switch eShop a few weeks back. The original game bypassed the Switch and, due to a shaky launch period on other platforms, pretty much bypassed many gamers. But Big Ant Studios, who have ported a few games to the Switch, notably the very decent Cricket 19 last summer, presumably now felt up to the task of being able to handle releasing this one on the Switch as well. But is it a smash or a double fault? I'm Paul from SwitchedOn, and here is my review of AO Tennis 2 on the Nintendo Switch. You can feel Big Ant's DNA running through AO Tennis 2 from very early on, with many of the plus points from Cricket 19 making the transition into this title. The game boots with a big model of a random player staring dead-eyed out at you, and a simple but functional UI is also easy to get around. Right off the bat, or should I say racket, I'm going to say one of, if not the best feature in AO Tennis 2 is the Academy mode, which also returns from Cricket 19. The Academy is a creation suite that not only allows you to create your own players, but also stadium complexes, courts, sponsor logos, new rackets and so on, and even allows you to share your creations online for anyone to download, and consequently allows you to download other people's creations. There are some really good likenesses of real world players here, which is a good job, as AO Tennis 2 is a little bit light on official licenses from many of the big names in the game. The Academy solves this issue to a large degree and allows you to import these created players and real life venues, including Wimbledon, into your game. Among the other modes, you can play the officially licensed Australian Open tournament that lends its name to the game. You can also play a quick match, set up your own competition, hone your skills in the tutorial mode, or play a scenario. This final mode lets you set up a match situation and play out the result. You can also create scenarios to upload for others in the Academy, and of course again download others to play yourself. The actual gameplay variety, when this is taken into consideration, is almost infinite with all these online sharing options. Talking of online, the Switch version does feature an online mode too, so you can play against others from around the world, complete with leaderboards. But unfortunately, and this is the way of many Switch games, I've not been able to find an online game to test this with. So as good as it is to have in the game, please bear in mind I can't vouch for the performance of this mode right now. This all brings us to the final mode on offer, which is the quite excellent career mode. Whilst not quite having the depth and breadth of Cricket 19's mode, where you basically start off on your local park team and try to progress to captain the Ashes, AO Tennis 2's career mode still does feature an impressive amount of gameplay, but starting you off in rookie tournaments against randomly generated AI players. After starting the career mode and choosing if you want to take on the career of one of the star players in the game, or take on a rookie career and create your own player, you are dropped into what can be a lengthy career mode where you get to plan out your schedule week by week. You can usually choose from a few options, from resting to training and also travelling to tournaments from around the world. I really liked how the further you decided to travel from your current location, the more fatigued you will start that tournament with, so it pays to schedule your itinerary carefully and allow rest weeks to stay in tip-top condition, as well as ensuring you level up your skills to stay competitive. Winning matches earns you money and XP, and you can use both to improve your player, with some skills costing money to improve. Now think of this as money spent on coaching facilities. And you can also use your hard-earned cash to buy new clothing, rackets, and also pay in salaries for various support staff that will give you boosts in the game. If you choose the Rookie Path mode, then there are some light story elements in the game. Now I've seen this compared to the Journey mode in FIFA, but it's nothing quite as deep as that. It's just the odd press conference or cutscene reflecting your current progress, and whilst it's ultimately a bit of fluff, it does help flesh out the feeling you're a struggling tennis player on the World Tour. Everything in AO Tennis is a pretty positive experience so far, especially considering sports games are usually nerfed when it comes to being squeezed down onto the Switch. So where's the catch? Well, the catch you probably expected is coming, but it may not be quite as bad as you were expecting. The actual tennis matches themselves are a very mixed bag, which range from extremely fun and playable to frustrating buggy messes. This experience also seems to be dependent on the stadium you're using, with the bigger crowds and some community stadiums definitely affecting the performance of the game. First though, the good news. Visually, AO Tennis 2 is pretty decent. Those outlets that rushed to review the game on launch would have missed the first few patches that have dropped, and the look and performance have definitely been incrementally improved, to the point now that during playing a point from the default camera, the game looks absolutely fine. Players bear a decent likeness to their real-life counterparts, especially from a distance, and most of the courts feel realistic in terms of both looks and general activity, from an umpire that keeps a close eye on the play to animated line judges. At the end of most points, a short cutscene will trigger, showing your player celebrating or throwing a John McEnroe. You can actually choose how to react to the finish of a point by pressing up and down on the D-pad if you choose. And spend too much of the match moaning and groaning can have a negative effect on your sponsor and fan levels, so please moan responsibly. Some other nice touches include the ability to trigger a challenge by pressing ZL and ZR, which brings up a TV-style Hawkeye camera, complete with slow hand claps from the crowd before the decision you are appealing is generally upheld. Matches also feature injuries, and again these are visually shown with players hobbling around as they try to shake off any issues that randomly crop up, though the more fatigued you are, the more chance you're taking with succumbing to injuries. Shots are made by holding down one of the face buttons to start a swing and releasing it to complete your shot. Timing is important here, and it's indicated by a marker near your head, and at the same time you will also be positioning the shot with a cursor in your opponent's half. To begin with, this feels like patting your head and rubbing your tummy, but with practice it becomes a decent enough control scheme to use, and coupled with a heavily AI assisted movement of your player. You can tone this down and take more control, but it makes it incredibly hard to pull off consistently good shots. The controls aren't ideal, but I've always felt tennis games are generally clunky to control, and I'm yet to play one I'm 100% comfortable with, so I felt personally like AO Tennis 2 had just about got it right, although some people will obviously hate the automated player movement. Pulling off good shots though is still incredibly satisfying, and especially on harder levels, hitting a great winning shot feels very much earned. There are occasions where your player just won't move or swing the way you want them to, which is an annoyance and happens probably enough times to become frustrating during a match, and this can hopefully be improved over time with patches. From a gameplay perspective, my only other gripe is the fact that AI players are ridiculously good at the net. If you play a drop shot or they approach the net of their own accord during play, then you're pretty much toast. Attempt to hit a hard topspin shot past them, and 99% of the time they'll react like a cat and smash a backhand to the opposite side of the court, which is something you'll pretty much never see real players do. Niggles aside, there is a fun time to be had generally in the gameplay, and two extra things I like if you're finding yourself becoming annoyed are that firstly you can quit your game at any time and carry on from that point in the future, which is a great bonus especially in longer matches, and you can also choose to simulate from any point of the match, from the next point all the way up to the end of the match. Again, perfect if you're getting hammered and just want to take the loss and move on without slogging through the match. Talking of slogs, the biggest negative, as I mentioned earlier, is the performance during big events. This will see the game start to chug and just generally feel far more unresponsive and sluggish, which further amplify the issues I've already mentioned. Personally, I think this is worse docked than handheld, yet I've seen some people say the opposite, so it seems no matter which way you prefer to play your Switch, the chances are you may run into issues. It has to be said that developers BigBen Studios have already released a number of patches which have improved performance, and as a company they do have a solid track record of supporting their games. The original AO Tennis had an awful launch, but by the end of its life cycle and untold patches later, it was considered a very decent game by fans. That's no guarantee of course that the same will happen on the Switch here, but I think of all the sports game developers, I trust BigBen to get it right eventually. Now this brings us to the final big question of course, and that's, is AO Tennis 2 worth your time and money right now? Well, in terms of quality and polish, performance issues aside, I would say BigBen have done a superb job getting the full experience onto the Switch. It's not as pretty or as smooth as other versions, but it's absolutely a fun and playable tennis game with a ton of potential to get better. If you want a tennis game you can take with you on the go, then AO Tennis 2 is absolutely your best bet right now, but even with that said, I can still only stamp this with a maximum score of 7 out of 10, and that's with the caveat that there is a good chance that the game will continue to improve with performance patches in the coming weeks and months. Thanks for watching the review. I hope you enjoyed it. Please give me a thumbs up below if you did. And if you're new here, please subscribe. Also, please leave me a comment below. How do you sort of receive these games? Are you someone that prefers portability over performance? Or will you be picking up this game on the Xbox or PlayStation or PC just to get that extra smoothness? Please let me know. Always interested to hear which way fans like to go with these sort of games. Thanks again for watching. I'll catch you all on the next review and see you all later. Thanks everyone. Bye bye.